in the zone.
It's a what-demic?
Quademic.
What's the for?
I think it's called metapneumovirus. I could be wrong.
Metapneumovirus, they all come in one thing?
They all come in one thing. Well, no, they're just saying that it's the confluence of all four of them at the same time. So, yeah.
No, I haven't heard of it until today. Thank you. I'm going to call my primary care physician.
Norovirus, so maybe that's the Quademic.
I'm calling my primary care physician regardless. Everybody who's listening, who's my age, do the same thing.
Yeah, there's
call
a whole lot
call your
going
primary
around.
care physician. Ask them about the Quademic or the Quindemic or whatever it's called.
Sexdemic. Oh.
That was in the 80s, in the 90s.
That means six in Latin.
Okay, you can say whatever you want. They heard it.
But you know what time? Why do we get this silly?
Yeah, I'm waiting on you.
You're the comedian.
But you said it. Are we reading the top three? All right, DMV, check this out. We are talking about everything from a bag ban in Montgomery County to special counsel's final report on January 6th. Yeah, let's talk about this.
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on, but right now, of course, all those big fires that continue to burn out west, they continue to be our top story here. This is video from just what has been another fire that was ignited overnight. Incredible. This is the auto fire. This is now burning in a separate county. This is Ventura County, adjacent to Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
We're talking about those fierce Santa Ana winds. They are expected to pick back up today, and they are threatening the progress that has been made so far. And you can imagine after a week of just continued work on these fires, everyone at work is exhausted. The death toll now standing at 24. The largest of the fires, the Palisades, only 14% contained.
We are not in the clear as of yet, and we must not let our guard down. As we have right now extreme fire behavior.
It is a very grim task, and we, unfortunately, every day we're doing this, we're running across the remains of individual community members.
More water tankers and firefighters have also arrived ahead of what is expected to be very windy conditions. Some 14,000 crews from California, 9 other states, as well as Mexico and Canada staging on the ground and in the air. Joining us now is California resident Yuri Lee. Yuri, thank you so much for joining us here on the East Coast. I can't, for us, this is hard to envision. I cannot even imagine what you all are living through there on the ground. We were told that you were potentially evacuated. What's your status right now?
Well, I'm back and forth evacuated and come back into my house. I'm on the borderline of the Santa Monica evacuation zone. So one day we are okay, and then one day we got to get out. So that's the status. And it's pretty devastating. I know that people cannot really feel it because you're not here. I do feel like I'm in the movie of Apocalypse. Even though I want to be optimistic, it is happening for sure, for real.
Yuri, while this is all going on, the devastation in, let's say, the Palisades or going close to Santa Monica, we just saw in Ventura County, but then the rest of the city is it still like operating and functioning like everyday regular city?
It is. So if I just drive in or just walk in 5 minutes from where I'm at, then it's apocalypse. And then if I drive out 5 minutes down to the southern part, and everything is just the normal. Everybody is working, operating, and we have to. We cannot not just stop and watch TV. So it's it's a very incredible dynamic that I'm experiencing. I actually did evacuate out in the very beginning because I'm very sensitive to the air quality. So on day first, I did evacuate it out. But in the place where I was out, I could still smell and was inhaling the smog. And everybody is feeling this. If you're not sensitive, you may not feel it directly, but this is a very toxic zone right now.
Yeah, and I imagine, unfortunately, it will likely continue to be as the rebuilding starts at some point. But unfortunately, it seems as though people can't even get to that point because these fires continue to burn. I know conditions are expected to worsen. What does your gut tell you here as far as, like, where do you stand? I know that this has been, as you say, a week of on and off, and I can't even imagine getting any decent rest or sleep throughout all of this because of anxiety. But where do you stand now in what's to come? I mean, does this make you think about potentially moving out of where you are in Southern California for the future, or have you even been able to think about the future?
I don't think we are at a place we can think about it at the moment because we are still in the zone. And I do believe that between today and tomorrow, there is another Santa Ana winds possibly happening this area, and anywhere in around LA could be. You just don't know. Yeah. Palisade was never a zone. Living in here, 25 years of my residency in LA was never a danger zone, and everything burned down. My immediate friend's house, several of their house burned down to the ground. My kids' direct best friend's houses burned down to the ground. Wow. And it's anywhere from apartments to million-dollar mansions. I mean, everything. It's not just to the rich neighborhood. We are experiencing it in every possible scenario you can imagine. That can happen to anybody.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely devastating. Yuri, it seems as though we're losing your connection, though. Yuri, we're wishing you and your family the best, of course. And in the days to come, as you've heard, she's been evacuated and so many people like that with their bags packed in their trunks, ready to go at a moment's notice if potentially these embers start to spark up and they are within those mandatory evacuation zones. We'll continue to keep our eye on that. And a lot of people have been asking, how can we help from all the way out here on the East Coast? And if you'd like to help, you can join Fox in helping families impacted by the wildfires. Just scan that QR code on your screen to support the cause. Your donation helps the Red Cross respond and help people recover from this incredible, just out of this world disaster.
Scan the code, scan the code, scan the code, scan the code, and send what you can send.
Let's move on now to topic number 2, which takes us to Capitol Hill, where confirmation hearings for President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet pick kicked off today. Pete Hegseth, the nominee for Secretary of Defense, facing a grilling from senators today, not only on defense issues, but as well his personal history.
Put aside all the charges of sexual impropriety and alcohol abuse, there has never been a nominee for an office of such serious consequence who is so unqualified and unprepared in recent American history.
Keep in mind, under President Trump, during those first 4 years, we had no new wars. And that was because we had deterrence, we had peace through strength, and with Pete Hegseth at the helm, we're going to get back to that.
Joining us now, Associate Dean for Government Procurement Law Studies at George Washington University. We've got Jessica Tiltman with us here. Okay, we've been watching these. The grilling has been intense. We saw Virginia Senator Tim Kaine probably issue one of the tougher ones there, about 8 minutes of just going back and forth with Pete Hegseth. What you saw today, how are you feeling about confirmation? Do you think that this is able to pass?
It's always hard to tell, and it's difficult to read the tea leaves with this one. They're always incredibly political processes. So, you know, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay. Okay. With that being said, I'm sitting here watching these confirmations try to happen, and I'm watching the controversy around them again and again and again. And I know that there's only a small pool of people who may be able to be qualified to do this job, and it kind of seems like we've run through them. What happens if he doesn't get confirmed?
Well, if he doesn't get confirmed, then obviously President-elect Trump will have to go ahead and nominate somebody else for the job. But you're correct. There's a relatively small pool of individuals that have the qualifications to fill roles this important, particularly the Secretary of Defense. So what we're seeing right now is a lengthy process. The individuals have to go through background checks, engage in financial disclosures. Obviously, we see today the fireworks that happened on Capitol Hill during the confirmation proceedings. But again, it's a limited pool, so he would have to go back into whatever limited pool he initially selected this particular nominee see from.
And my question then is there anybody left?
Well, there's been talk that potentially Senator Joni Ernst could be a potential pick if this did not work out. And I think a lot of people talking about the tea leaves were trying to read into some of what she was asking. And she did go in and she offered on the record, provided a letter that was submitted that spoke positively about Pete Hegseth. So that may give us a tell on her vote here. But let's talk about those financial disclosures and some of his past work, not just as a former host on Fox News, but also he led nonprofits that were to benefit veterans and Veterans Affairs. And there's been talk about potential of financial mishandling, if you will. He denies those allegations.
Yeah, so the reason that we have these financial disclosures is because we want to have an understanding about who's possessing these types of roles. At its core, it's designed to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest between the individual and their public service should they enter government at that point. So any of their external financial conflicts of interest. There's also some concern, of course, that they could be, manipulated. There's always a blackmail concern, of course, when we're thinking about financial interests or potential conflicts. In this particular instance, it's very important to understand whether there's a genuine risk of somebody who's engaged in potential financial misconduct, given the seriousness of the role that he may assume if he becomes the head of the DOD.
No, I mean, I think blackmail certainly played a role. It was part of some of the line of questioning, too, with some of the non-disclosure agreements that we know were signed with some of the past interpersonal relationships that Pete Hegseth had. And there was a question even from Senator Tim Kaine. Are you saying that this was potentially maybe used for blackmail? And Pete Hegseth did not answer that directly, but said that it was a confidential agreement. So I think, as you say, Jessica, these things really, you got to listen to pretty much every word, because every thing that you're hearing, including in the vernacular, is a telltale sign of where things may head.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm watching as closely as you are.
Absolutely. Okay, well, the confirmation hearing continues right now. We'll see where the votes head. And to Joe's part, we'll see if he does get confirmed, because if not, you got to go back to the drawing board.
I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Who after this? Okay.
All right, we've got GW's Dean here for Government Procurement and Law Studies. Thank you so much for your insight tonight here on Fox 5 on the DMV Zone. We'll continue to watch this, and it's not just the only confirmation hearing to happen. There's a host of them that will come, and a lot of them are going to be very tight on votes. Still to come here on the DMV Zone. When we come back, we're talking about banning plastic bags, paying more for paper bags, all of that after the break.
Here we go.
Get your soul, just tell him ain't laying low. You was never really rooting for me anyway.
let's move on to topic number 3, which takes us to Montgomery County. And soon, other areas may also be joining the ban on plastic bags. Today, there was a public hearing on the so-called Bring Your Own Bag bill. The bill seeks to add fees to paper bags and then ban single-use plastic carry-out bags to help reduce plastic waste. Violators, they can be fined as much as $500. We've got a senior reporter at Bethesda today, Ginny Bixby, with us now. Ginny, you followed this closely today. What'd you get from the hearing?
There was definitely, the community is definitely a little divided. I would say more than half of people are in favor of the proposed ban, citing environmental concerns and saying that this would take bags out of riverways. A lot of people that volunteer in the watershed had some pretty powerful testimony, but other community members are concerned both that this is going to cause convenience issues and also concerned that the tax on the paper bags could be prohibitive to some people.
Yeah, I would agree. My question is, are there any, did you hear any talk of funds or anything being set aside to let the public know and make this a widespread understanding of why the county is doing this? I think that a lot of the backlash or the pushback from residents comes because they generally don't know why this is happening.
I'm not sure that there's any funding set aside yet. I do know some of your viewers might be familiar with the gas-powered leaf blower ban that's going into effect. There's been a lot of advertising on county buses and put out in the media about that ban, so it's possible the council could take that route. I also will say that there are going to be certain exemptions, so people that have more financial struggles that maybe are SNAP recipients, for example, they will be, if this legislation passes the way it's currently written, they will be exempt from that tax.
Did it seem as though, which I think most people would understand the exemption, but adding that layer there, now it's all very convoluted. You've got one ban on one type of bag. As I understand it, the plastic bag right now, the fee is 5 cents. They're going to double that for paper bags at 10 cents. So I think for a lot of people, this just, it almost seems as though it's a punitive action, as though we're being penalized. And I get the why, the ramifications as far as the environment, but it does seem like it may be something that's more of a punishment more so than a greater good.
Yeah, a lot of people, I'm sure, have that concern. I will say Montgomery County is not the first to do this. There's, I believe, 9 other jurisdictions in Maryland. So like Baltimore City does it, Anne Arundel County does it. So while it might be a new phenomenon for folks here, it's definitely not new around the state.
Well, Ginny, as most things, one place does it and then the rest follow, and I think that we're starting to see the traction there. But again, the taxpayers do hold the final say, and we'll see exactly how this goes. But right now, it's still in committee, right? This is not going to the full council to vote yet?
Yes, absolutely. There will be a committee hearing on this, and then there will be, yet to be scheduled, a full council vote. And then if it does pass, it goes into effect July 1. So people do have a little bit of time.
I know you've covered probably a lot of things with the county council. Did it seem as though today's hearing was one of the more heated ones, if you will?
There were 24 speakers, which is a lot for a public hearing in the middle of the day. So I would say while there were slightly more speakers in favor, I would say that there was the small group that was opposed had strong opinions, and they did have a lot to back themselves up. So people on both sides feel very, very strongly about this. And you see that with a lot of legislation, but not all. So yes, I would say people are very passionate about this.
Okay, I wonder if it was like that Alexandria, you know, those council meetings over there. I heard they get heated.
Yes, they do.
Alexandria.
Jenny, good to have you on here on the DMV Zone. We hope to have you around more and, of course, showcase more of your reporting. And you can find her reporting there over at Bethesda today. In the meantime, we got a lot of our reporting here, too.
Yeah, I need to go over here and talk to the people on the web.
Fox5DC.com.
Yes, let's go see what's up on the web. Join all my folks. Hey, Jillian, you got something for me today?
Got some fun for you today.
You got something dope for me today?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good.
Did they give me the right chair? Because they always give me the little boy chair when I come over
I
here.
picked the chair up for you.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I think it's a good chair.
Like a full-grown man. How are you?
Sure, what's up? I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm chilling.
You know, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
We got it going. We're doing good.
Okay,
so,
what's this?
All right. So, you know, DC's gearing up for the inauguration.
Yes.
It's about to be a big time for everybody. So if there's something kind of fun you want to do, you can go check out the presidential footwear exhibit.
The presidential footwear exhibit. Yeah, I can't wait to see this.
Right? I mean, it's so
How far back does it go?
I think the furthest one, they start off with Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, so
And
they do have actual Abraham Lincoln shoes?
Yes. So this company, Johnston & Murphy's, they've been making presidential footwear since like 1850 was when they were founded. So they just keep churning
the
them
same
out.
Johnson & Murphy that's at the airport? Because it's Johnson & Murphy in the airport.
Well, it's men's footwear, so I don't think I would
Brothers and Johnson & Murphy are at every airport.
Oh, okay. So they made it from making shoes from the president to the airport. That's a big business.
Any other interesting inauguration stuff we need to check out?
You know, we've got everything on fox5dc.com. We are your inauguration central, okay? I just put up the road closure stories, so
we need that one.
Get ready, guys, because it's going to be, yeah, that list is long.
Now, did you see the story about the hotel packages?
Oh, yes.
Over the top.
Yes,
are you going?
No.
Are you spending some money?
You know, I'm going to be right here.
You don't have that
you don't
have $73,000 for a one-night inauguration?
I don't, unfortunately.
And then the Salamander has something for $200,000. Well, we can go kick it at the Salamander. Let's we're going to ask the management here if all of us could go get that $200,000.
We'll each just take like 5 minutes sitting in the room, be like, hey, that was cool.
There you go. I did the inauguration. Make sure you go check out fox5dc.com for all of the inauguration stuff. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's the DMV Zone. I want to see Abraham Lincoln. Get your sexy on. I'm bringing sexy back.
Zone, and like we talked about, let's get this right, Joe Claire. It is the Quademic.
A Quademic.
Okay, so you're probably asking, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that RSV, COVID, the norovirus, and the flu are a quadruple threat this season. We've got neuroimmunologist, Dr.
COVID, norovirus, and the flu.
Dr. Sharon Stoll joining us now to break this all down. Certainly, listen, everywhere you go, if it's not one person, it's the next with the sniffles or something of that sort. What's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely worth repeating. Those 4 viruses that you just mentioned. The flu is definitely the most prevalent out of the 4 right now, but if anyone has little children at home like I do, norovirus is definitely on the upswing. The flu, COVID, those two, RSV, those three, I should really say, they all cause upper respiratory infection. The sniffles, cough, sneezing, fever, chills, all of those things can really knock one out. And then the norovirus is a gastrointestinal bug, so diarrhea, vomiting, GI discomfort. And the best thing to do really for the Quademic, as we're seeing, is, I can't stress enough, the vaccination for especially the flu this season is crucial.
You saying the vaccination for the flu is the most crucial thing to do this time around?
Absolutely.
And so
COVID is also, we're seeing on the upswing, but not as prevalent and not causing as many hospitalizations, although we're still seeing probably about 1% of the ER visits is from COVID. But this time around, the flu is definitely knocking more people out.
Got you. So when I hear Quademic, I'm asking myself, is this something new? Is this the new normal? Will each wintertime will we have to start looking for like 3 and 4 and 5 and 7 viruses at a time?
That's an excellent question. I remember this time last year, it was the Tridemic.
Yeah.
This year, norovirus is really making its rounds. Unfortunately, we have no idea what's going to happen next year, but I think one of the reasons we're seeing such an upswing in all of these illnesses is, number one, we're not as prevalent as we were during the pandemic about hand washing. So norovirus is preventable with good hand hygiene. So kids come home from school, you come home from work, anytime you put something in your mouth, remember, soap and water is the best defense for that. And we're also seeing a reduced number of vaccinations this year. So people aren't as on top of their COVID and especially their flu vaccine.
All right, wash your hands, everybody, and sing happy birthday a couple times. We learned that. So it's time to bring it back. Dr. Sharon Stoll, thank you for coming on the DMV Zone. When we come back, sports betting. Sports betting, always a hot topic, especially now with the Commanders going the distance.
Oh, yeah.
Another one coming to town. We'll talk about it after the break. All right, back here in the zone, and like we talked about heading to break, two key contractors for D.C.'s controversial sports betting and lottery program will pay more than $6 million to settle claims. Janae Dill from Axios has been following this. A whole lot of money when D.C. decided to just go with Intralot here. Things have changed since, but it seems like maybe they're paying up. Hey, Janae.
Hey, how's it going? This is the end of this big sports gambling app saga that DC has endured over the past 5+ years. Today, the Attorney General announced that the makers of this Gambit DC app are having to pay up $6.5 million as part of a settlement to settle claims and allegations that they engaged in this sort of scheme that deceived DC to win the contract. This was a massive, a bit controversial contract when it was passed by the DC Council in 2019. It was worth up to $215 million, and the two companies, Intralot, the main big global company, and the small business based locally, VSC, they teamed up and they made the app, they run the lottery, and today the DC Attorney General ending his investigation into the two and finding well, at least making the allegations that they deceived the city and having them pay $6.5 million. Intralot $5 million, BSC paying $1.5 million to settle the claims.
And what exactly did they say they did that was deceptive?
That's right. So and this is a bit complicated, but Intralot is the main company here. They were to partner with VSC as a local company to help local businesses, and VSC would commit 51% of the work, so they would help the local economy in that way. The allegation from the Attorney General is that VSC was paying money back to Intralot so that Intralot's subsidiary would perform the work that VSC was supposed to allegedly perform. This is what the Attorney General's office alleges now. VSC denies they did anything wrong. VSC says they only settled to avoid exorbitant legal fees. Intralot as well, which is a Greece-based company, they also deny they did anything wrong here, and they settled without admitting any wrongdoing, the case.
Okay, so it's a settlement, essentially. I mean, nobody here was told. They were allegations that were presented, and I imagine to not further delve into discovery. I mean, was discovery presented, or is this to avoid all the dirty laundry being outed? You pay this money, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, and we reported the existence of this investigation. From what I understand, it was running for about a year last year, if not more, if not longer, and it didn't go into court in the sense that there was no civil suit brought against these companies. The Attorney General of D.C. can bring civil action against companies for things like fraud or contracting issues. They have settled this investigation, and the outcome is that they'll pay this amount of money. Now, the Attorney General, Brian Schwab, says that this is a warning to other contractors to basically be honest about the business they're doing when they're applying for contracts.
I'd be curious to know, and I don't know if you have this offhand, Janae, but do you know how much money D.C. lost by only having Intralot operating this contract?
Yeah. So to give a comparison, when D.C. opened up its marketplace to FanDuel, all these other apps, it pulled in a lot more money. I believe it was double, if not more, than what Gambit DC was producing in any given period of time. I mean, the results were incomparable. In fact, the owner of VSC privately said in an email chain we found, he was blown away by how much better, how much more money FanDuel and these other apps were making. Yeah.
$6.5 million is a drop in the bucket. I mean, you know, go full on. If you're going to really do this and you're going to waste taxpayer money with this kind of scheme, and I don't know, and these are allegations, nothing's proven, but Brian Schwab seems to think that they were deceptive, then go full boat. Go full the length. You got bigger issues, but the money there, bring it back to D.C. to get $6.5 million, then don't do anything.
That's what the end of this case is. Now, they do want to have us point out perhaps that the contract, it's $215 million, but it was up to $215 million when it was approved in 2019. It looks like DC paid only about $39 million of that to Intralot. But again, maybe that gives some comparison.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't give them the full 200, so I think
who gets the $6 million? Where does that go?
I mean, that's
can I get it?
Not doing anything.
Oh, all right, never mind. All right, thanks, Janae.
As a bigger conversation. Janae, thank you for your reporting on that.
I want to know who gets the $6 million.
Let's move on now to public schools in Virginia, where students across the Commonwealth may soon be getting free breakfast under a newly proposed bill. We've got James Cullum from Alexandria now to tell us about this proposal. This would be a very, very big deal.
Yeah, that's right. Virginia State Senator Danica Roem and Alexandria Delegate Elizabeth Bennett Parker introduced bills at the beginning of this legislative session of the Virginia General Assembly that would provide free breakfast to all public school students in the Commonwealth. You might remember last year when they both tried to get free breakfast and lunch for all Virginia students, but it cost $173 million, and it seemed to be a little too expensive for the legislature to handle. So both bills stayed in committee.
Okay. So free lunch for any public school kid in the county?
Yeah, the bill requires the Department of Education to reimburse each public elementary and secondary school for each school breakfast served to a student with a max of one breakfast per student per school day.
You have to remember, based on some of the information, some children, this is the only meal that they may have in a day, which is at school. And to provide that, obviously, if you get free or reduced lunch, you're going to get it regardless. But to allow for every child to come in and to have that breakfast, it may be something, a difference between choosing one meal or the other at home. So if this passes, do we know, does it have the support to move on?
Well, Bennett Parker sees this bill, first of all, she sees this as an incremental step to getting breakfast and lunch approved down the road, but it's significantly cheaper. It's $43 million. It's, $30 million cheaper than the original proposal. So that's what they're hoping for this time around. This will be an incremental step to getting both meals.
Baby steps. I think if they can make this happen, then maybe they can go shoot for the stars. Thank you, James, for that. That would be not just for Alexandria, but across Virginia. So
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Way to go.
All right, we did have some sunshine to start the day. Yesterday, a little warmer weather. We had a little summer-like temps considering what we've been through here. Let's check in with Caitlin Roth for what the rest of the week may look like. And it was nippy out there.
Oh, we're back, baby. Winter has returned.
Oh,
that's
this
it.
morning, I had a 6 o'clock call with the dog this morning.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, it was straight up and down Arctic.
That's it. I know, right? Yeah. Like, I hope you enjoyed your break, because that was it.
Yeah, it's back to it.
Depths of cold have returned, Joe and Marina, as these temperatures much more like what we saw all last week. It was beautiful yesterday. We had 50 degrees, but no chance today. It's 37 in Washington, but temperatures are struggling. It's only 29 in Gaithersburg, 32 Baltimore, 30 in Westminster, 33 in Martinsburg. Look at Cumberland at 27. Fredericksburg made it to 40, but that's about as good as anyone's going to do. So we took a big hit with Arctic air pouring in today. Temperatures are 10 to 15 degrees colder than where we were at this time yesterday. It's also breezy. It seems we can't do a cold day without a lot of wind around here. And so wind chills are mostly in the 20s, 32 here in D.C., but feels like 19 in Hagerstown, 15 in Cumberland. We are seeing some snow flurries showing up on radar. These are pretty far to the north and west, over parts of the mountains, western Garrett County. But as that piece of energy swings through, we could see a few flurries tonight, just to put a cap on what has been a very cold change. So a few snowflakes early. Otherwise, we'll clear out. We remain cold and breezy. Temperatures are mostly in the 20s to start off your Wednesday. So Wednesday, middle of the week here, it's more cold, more wind, so not much change. We should have sunshine, but as you can see, with temperatures not getting much above freezing, this is a struggle to melt down the snowpack that is still on the ground from last Monday. We made some progress yesterday, but I'm afraid today, tomorrow, the next couple of days, a little bit of a struggle. So we continue to just see those now not very white piles everywhere you go. 32 degrees tomorrow with a gusty wind. By Thursday, more flurries in the forecast, but again, not a lot. Just in the afternoon, you could have some passing snowflakes, 38 degrees for the high temperatures. So pretty cold stuff through Thursday. We'll see some moderation as we get towards Friday and Saturday, meaning temperatures are pretty much normal. But as we look to next week, another round of very cold air plunging southward. This map indicates below normal temperatures, and this is 15 to 20 degrees below normal. And this is not just the northern plains. This goes all the way down into South Texas along the Gulf Coast. That will spread eastward. So it's not just the northern Four Seasons states all the way through Florida. Deep freeze expected for next week. So that Arctic air will set the stage for the potential for some wet weather. And right now we've got a few scenarios possible with a storm system that will kick off our 3-day weekend. It looks like it'll start as rain because, as I said, temperatures are really moderating on Saturday. So that's our best chance to see some showers. Depending on whether this storm makes an interior track, a coastal track, or just goes straight to the south, will determine whether we just see rain to snow, or maybe rain to just about nothing. It's still a little too early to tell. Impacts don't look overly high, meaning not a big storm, but still, considering this is a very heightened weekend for us, not just because it's a holiday weekend, but because Inauguration is on Monday, a lot of impacts are possible. So notice Saturday's temperatures are in the 40s. We're talking about rain showers. Likely a break late Saturday, early Sunday, but Sunday night we could see a rain to snow event, and then maybe ending as a little bit of snow on Monday. But I think the bigger story with Monday Inauguration is it looks really cold. Our high temperature is just 28 degrees. So you are talking about a lot of cold and a lot of wind for everyone who's going to be out there on Monday. Even colder, probably the coldest temperatures of the winter thus far coming in the middle of next week. So you look at Tuesday with that high of 25, and it's hard to believe we just keep kind of upping the ante with the cold weather around here, guys. The breaks are there, but they're pretty few and far between.
Can we just fast forward to April, please? Let's keep it moving. What in the world is going? What do you like about 25 degrees?
Hey, builds character.
You can't even go outside.
That's why Jaden Daniels and them are winning, because of this kind of weather. We building character over here.
Outside. Sorry, Detroit.
We need that.
They're done.
Bye.
Yeah.
We
Commanders
need
are hard and tough.
happening in the legal world,
Yes.
especially some big stuff that's, of course, as we enter inauguration time. So who else and who better to call but our chief legal correspondent, Katie Barlow, to break down what was kind of like an overnight drop here.
It was an overnight drop. And by the way, I'm not expecting it to slow down come January 20th when, of course, President-elect Trump takes office. It wasn't slow the first go-around. I don't expect it to be slow the second go-around. But yes, overnight, Special Counsel Jack Smith's report was released. Attorney General Merrick Garland making that public after a drawn-out court battle, which actually mirrors the prosecution itself, delaying the ultimate release. But that was released just after midnight. Actually, after a late-night scramble, Trump's team tried once again with Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee down in Florida, to prevent the release of this document. And at like 11:05, she said, "I'm sorry, it's out of my hands. I can't do it," because the volume of the report that was released was about their investigation and prosecution of Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, and of course, leading up to and on January 6th, his actions there. So we didn't necessarily learn a lot more because we, of course, saw the indictments that had a lot of detail there. But we did learn one big piece of their thinking, which is that Jack Smith said that Trump would be convicted but for his election. He says it in black and white in the report several times that he believes there would be a conviction. But of course, the election prevents them continuing to prosecute the president because there's a longstanding DOJ policy against prosecuting the president. I'm here to tell you that this is an unusual statement from a prosecutor. Okay. It's not something that you would typically hear. I want to pull up the full screen of the language of at least one of the times that Jack Smith says it in the report. You can see Mr. Trump's conduct violated several federal criminal statutes and that the admissible evidence would be sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction. That is what's typical in a prosecution memo, which is usually a confidential memo, a private memo that never sees the light of day because we have a presumption of innocence in the United States, and criminal defendants are, of course, presumed innocent until found guilty by a jury. And a prosecutor is not supposed to say in public that their criminal defendant is guilty. There are lots of protections in place around criminal defendants. That's why we have a grand jury. You have to convince a grand jury as a prosecutor first to file the charges, and then you have to convince a jury to convict because they believe that the crime was committed beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is not necessarily an issue for Jack Smith because the special counsel regulations require Jack Smith to provide a confidential memo to the Attorney General Merrick Garland. We've seen it happen before with the Mueller report. We've seen it with other special counsels. But it was Attorney General Merrick Garland's ultimate decision here to release this report unredacted, which included those statements about him being convicted. So, of course, Trump's team took issue with this, and they got a crack at least trying to convince the Attorney General ahead of time not to release the report. They wrote a 6-page letter about all of the reasons that they believed that it was a miscarriage of justice to release the report, and echoing some of the statements we've heard before that it was a political prosecution. Nonetheless, it is a remarkable moment that we're seeing that type of language, and the fact that the Attorney General released it, we don't know for sure why. Perhaps he thinks, you know, there's strong public interest in releasing a report about a president-elect or a former president, but then that kind of turns on its head the idea that the president is getting special treatment. He's actually in a tougher position here. They're releasing the report because he was perhaps the former president or the president-elect.
Or perhaps
That's
because
a
he was
whole
not
lot of mess.
confirmed to the Supreme Court.
This is a whole big mess for America to find itself in right now. It's too much.
On its premise here, both sides, and I think any objective person could probably say this is political. I mean, on both sides. And you can argue that it's not. But I think given what you're seeing from Jack Smith, who is not a DOJ employee, but for the fact that he is a special prosecutor, was in this case.
Well, part of the reason for appointing the special prosecutor, and he talks about this in the report, is to try and remove politics from it. Of course, Merrick Garland is an appointee of the president, and although DOJ maintains some independence, they still have political appointees. So the whole point of having a special prosecutor was to at least try and remove some of the politics here. Of course, nowadays in America, that's pretty much impossible to do. I also want to point out that there's actually a second volume that hasn't been released. And so for people who make the argument that this is political political. There is some decision here not to release that because there are actually 2 ongoing prosecutions of Trump aides and the groundskeeper at Mar-a-Lago in the classified documents case. So that volume not being released because of those 2 ongoing prosecutions. Asterisk, when Trump takes office and there's a new DOJ, we'll see if those prosecutions actually continue.
Yeah, it's just too much.
And Katie answers my follow-up questions because there is no follow-up at this point. You get a new incoming president, which has their own political appointees and their own attorney general. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about attorney generals right here. What are the possibilities here, and do we know anything?
Well, so we know that Pam Bondi has been appointed, and then we know that there will be an acting attorney general for a time before she gets confirmed by the Senate. We saw it today. They're starting with those confirmation hearings, and Pam will go through that process as well, the attorney general nominee. In the meantime, there will be an acting individual at the head of DOJ. And I will also say that the 2 individuals who wrote to Merrick Garland on this behalf are actually his appointees at DOJ. The incoming DAG will be Todd Blanche, who was a part of this process in defending Trump against these charges, and Emil Bove, who will be the DAG's chief head of his office. The pay DAG is what it's called in DOJ. So they were deeply involved in this fight that they will now assume the head of DOJ, who made all of these decisions that led us to this place.
This is too much, man.
There was a time, right, where this was not political, where DOJ was its own thing, I think.
I'm going back to civics class after this, man.
I'll be right back.
Word up, Katie.
right, Cecilia, like it or not tonight.
Hi, Marina.
Hey, I hear Tony P's coming back for round 2 after they take it 2.
Yeah,
He's working for his money.
I was going to say, Tony P, I looked up, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
In D.C.
Yes, he is. We had a fun show. What's coming up tonight at 7 o'clock?
So tonight, we're going to talk about a new poll that found that coworkers don't like talking to each other.
Oh, I would agree with that.
I was going to say, as a professional yapper, what do you think? Let me give you some data real quick.
Okay,
so
good.
nearly
Context.
half of, people are saying they are uncomfortable making small talk when they see coworkers like in the kitchen or if you're like both washing your hands in the restroom.
Yeah.
And almost half of the people in this poll have admitted that even if someone is sitting right there, like Chris is right there, I would just email him what I need to tell him instead of talking.
Okay, that's weird. If he's right there, I'm telling Chris what I need to say. And I have no, that's the thing that I'm not scared
Chris,
to
I'm
talk.
emailing all of this to you as we speak.
Yeah, that's so weird. Why would you do that?
Because they're nervous.
But because they're nervous?
They don't want to talk to people. It's a social
Get
anxiety,
out of your computer,
I guess.
socialize. This is what's wrong with people, that everyone's scared of a human. We don't bite. Like, people are just too afraid. That's so bizarre. Sorry, Chris. You've now become our guinea pig here in this conversation. I will say, like, sometimes it's awkward. Like, if someone's having lunch in the break room, you don't want to interrupt them, but you also have to go do your thing, you know? So you just, like, I just politely say hello and keep it moving. Now, if there's a point of conversation you want to start it, I think people will open up to that. But I think if the person's sitting right next to you and you can't talk to them, you've got to send them an email. You got to take a deeper look at where you are, like, in life. That's really weird. Yeah, we're not on this earth for that long. Talk to people. What are you going to do? Just email your way out of this place?
That actually reminds me, I went to a bar once and they had a sign that said, "We don't have Wi-Fi. Pretend it's 1999 and talk to each other."
Put your cell phone away, talk to people. There it is. Like it or not, 7 o'clock.
See you there.
talking about the grits, y'all. I see you. I don't know. We got 95 calls in the 2 o'clock hour about the grits.
About the sugar grits versus the savory grits.
I like a little bacon in my grits.
You like bacon in your grits?
Bacon bits. You know, bacon bits. You shake them in there and
give me a little sugar and a little butter and good to go.
Yeah, I'm with you, though. I'm with you, Angie. Yeah. Little bacon bits.
See you Friday. In the meantime, have a great show.
The news at 4 starts now. Right now at 4, new details on a deadly shooting in Montgomery County last night. Court documents revealing the suspect allegedly confessed to shooting his friend. Plus, a mother of 3 indicted for killing her husband. The new evidence that has prosecutors pushing back on her story of self-defense.
Also, an Olympian at the right place at the right time. The dramatic lengths that he went to save a woman from drowning. Your news starts right now.
But off the top at 4, a fiery hearing today kicking off confirmation hearings for President-elect Trump's cabinet. Pete Hegseth, nominee for the Secretary of Defense, faced a grilling from senators today, not only on defense issues, but his own personal story. Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald is live on the Hill. Fitz, Senate Democrats have blasted Hegseth today.
Yeah, and that was expected, Shamar. We were waiting for the Democrats to go in on the president's nominee. However, who he really needs to win over are many of these Senate Republicans, still many of them with big questions about whether or not Pete Hegseth is up for this job and whether or not he will ultimately be named as the Secretary of Defense. The Senate Armed Services Committee today opening up confirmation hearings on this nomination. Now, Hegseth faced intense questions about his qualifications and his fitness for the job. Democrats also raised alarms about a 2017 sexual assault allegation and reports of excessive drinking and his policy on women in the military, as well as criticism of efforts in the armed forces to make it more inclusive. Hegseth testified that he blamed anonymous sources for the allegations and the media for attacking him.
There was a coordinated smear campaign orchestrated in the media against us. That was clear from moment one. And what we knew is that it wasn't about me. Most of it was about President Donald Trump, who's had to endure the very same thing for much longer amounts of time.
So, Fitz, the Department of Defense is the largest employer in the DMV. We know that. So how did Hegseth answer the questions about never having run anything as large as the Pentagon?
Well, he leaned in heavily today on his experience as a combat military veteran and said several times that, he believed the job should have somebody who has dust in their boots from combat. However, he's got a tall order over in the full Senate. It's not just the members of this panel he has to face. There are female Republican senators like Jody Ernst, Lisa Murkowski, and Susan Collins who have raised questions about whether Hegseth is qualified for this job. Now, they haven't tipped their hands yet about which way they'll vote. But if those 3 do not go along with this nomination, it is possible that other Republican senators could follow suit.
Thank you, Fitz. Overnight, Attorney General Merrick Garland released special counsel Jack Smith's report on the criminal prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump and his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Smith concluded he believes Trump would be convicted if not for his re-election. The DOJ's longstanding policy prohibiting the indictment and prosecution of a sitting president. Trump's legal team blasted the report, calling it a politically motivated attack that violates fundamental norms regarding the presumption of innocence.
Well, Southern California, once again, under a red flag warning days after massive fires broke out around Los Angeles County. Crews now ramping up efforts to put out hot spots and monitor dry brush. Wind gusts will not be as powerful as last week's, but officials do warn that they could be strong enough to turn one spark into something a lot more.
It's so dry because of these winds that the brush or fuel, if an ember lands on it, has a 65% of ignition.
Well, around 14,000 crews from multiple states, as well as Mexico and Canada, are staging on the ground and in the air. In just a week, fires have burned more than 40,000 acres. One estimate now puts the cost at more than $250 billion.
This evening, new court documents reveal a man allegedly admitted to killing his friend with an AR-15. It happened last night on Franklin Street in Kensington, Maryland. Prosecutors say the suspect, identified as 21-year-old Benjamin Dressbach, called police allegedly admitting that he shot Trevor Van Devender after an argument. Dressbach is charged with second-degree murder. A Manassas mother who works as a pharmacist denied bond today after she was indicted with allegedly murdering her husband, Curtis Crabb. But LaToya Crabb's lawyers say she acted in self-defense as she now awaits trial. Fox 5's David Kaplan staying ahead of this story for us. David?
Shamari, good evening to you. This shooting happened in late October. Bond has been denied multiple times for LaToya Crabb, including this morning, just days after she was indicted by a grand jury here in Prince William County. And we know that a early March trial date has been set. Crabb's mother, Marilyn Martin, tells Fox 5 she does not know exactly what happened in the basement of her home that day where her daughter and her daughter's husband were living, but she is confident that her daughter was protecting herself.
For her to do that, her life was on the line.
Marilyn Martin spoke with Fox 5 in the Manassas home where this shooting happened October 21st of last year. Her daughter, LaToya Crabb, and LaToya's husband, Curtis, were raising their 3 kids, the oldest age 5, in this home, and the couple was living in the basement. Martin says her daughter told Curtis she wanted a divorce. Then came an eviction notice giving him 30 days to leave the home. Shortly after that, Curtis Crabb allegedly sent a text to LaToya saying he will hurt everyone in the house, then set it on fire, adding she would never see their 3 kids again. 12 days after that, while Curtis Crabb was still staying in the home, but in the process of moving out, gunshots in the basement.
Her only intent was to stop the threat. That's her only intent, is to stay alive and stop the threat.
Marilyn Martin says prosecutors have argued LaToya Crabb is a danger to the public, believing there is evidence she reloaded the gun in the process of the shooting. Crabb's attorney says he has not seen any evidence pointing to that. Multiple attempts at bond, though, have been denied, including Tuesday morning. Marilyn Martin believes, given the days and weeks prior to the shooting and the fact that the couple's kids were upstairs at the time,
she had to keep on until the threat stopped. So I don't understand. So what is she supposed to go, oh, well, I run out of bullets. I didn't stop you. I give up. Just kill me. It makes absolutely no sense.
Police said there was no record of any calls for domestic violence to this home, and they say they conducted a thorough review before bringing such a serious charge. Prince William County Commonwealth's attorney Amy Ashworth declining to comment on this case while it's pending today, but prosecutors have continued to argue for confinement leading to the trial. Fox 5 did reach out to Curtis Crabb's family for comment. They declined tonight, but in his obituary, his family said he was a dedicated family man who loved and adored his children. LaToya Crabb's trial slated to start on March 3rd. Angie.
David, thank you. Now to a Fox 5 exclusive. 2 people recovering right now. They're in the hospital after they say that they were shot during an attempted carjacking in the district. It happened around 8 o'clock last night in the Brightwood neighborhood. A couple say that they were talking in their car on Colorado Avenue Northwest when somebody tried to carjack them and then shot them both as they attempted to drive off. They drove about a quarter of a mile down the road before crashing into a car on Georgia Avenue. The 21-year-old passenger and her boyfriend are both in the hospital. They have serious injuries. We spoke exclusively to her mother.
Everyone in the community needs to feel safe when they walk out their door. They shouldn't have to worry about if somebody's going to take their property from them or their life.
Well, the mother does tell us that both her daughter and her boyfriend were shot 5 times, but are expected to recover. Police tell us that they don't have a suspect description to share at this point.
Two D.C. police officers hurt in a shootout with a man have been released from the hospital. Police say 45-year-old Derek Williams fired shots in the lobby of the I-5 apartments on Florida Avenue Northeast Monday morning. When officers arrived, they say Williams soon came out of an elevator and started shooting at them. They returned fire, killing him. Police say Williams lived in the building. They also say they recovered his gun. The third officer is still at the hospital but should be okay.
A procession honoring the life of a Montgomery County firefighter who died while responding to a house fire in Laurel happened today. The procession for Christopher J. Higgins started at the medical examiner's office in Baltimore before ending at a funeral home in Pasadena. Higgins was a 22-year veteran of the department. He suffered some sort of emergency while responding to a house fire on Saturday. Higgins is remembered as a mentor, a friend, and someone who loved serving his community.
Now to some top caught on camera moments, everyone. An Olympic hero is in the right place at the right time. Take a look at this. Kite surfer Bruno Lobo was out on the water when he heard someone screaming. He noticed a woman bobbing in the water and jumped in to save her. She was reunited with her friends after making it back to the shoreline. In a post on Instagram, Lobo reminded his followers not to underestimate the power of the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, you say that again. Give him a medal.
Yeah,
Give
right
him a
place
medal,
in the right time, Angie.
He deserves one for that. Give him the gold. All right. Well, you can find just about anything at Aldi, and apparently we are talking everything. Yeah. This was outside of a Chicago store.
Look at that leap.
A coyote hiding out in the refrigerated section. A police officer pulling the animal out, but I mean, it jumped right back in. Who knows? I mean, maybe
he just wanted to cool off.
Right? I know. It's pretty cold in Chicago right now, though, I would say.
What is he doing in there? How did he get in the supermarket to begin with?
I don't know, but they were actually able to capture him, and they brought him safely back and released him into the wild. But a coyote in aisle 2, you don't see that very often.
All right, let's clear him out. And check this out, everyone. A New Yorker capturing the moment a rat snagged a pack of Reese's peanut butter cups. I like Reese's. I didn't know rats like them, but anyway. From a pile of trash on the subway tracks before dragging it away, the woman who recorded the moment said the rat was trying to get it to a safe place to enjoy it. It looks like the pizza rat has evolved to the Reese's rat. I didn't know rats like Reese's, Angie.
I mean,
peanut butter, chocolate.
I'm appalled. Who throws away a Reese's?
Why would someone
Find
do
that person.
You guys, all I see is rat. I'm sorry, all I see is rat. I can't.
Look at him.
I can't say this is cute.
Well, rats got to eat too, Sharon. Come on.
I guess so.
I guess so. All right, guys. Still to come in trending. TikTokers are taking over a new app. Have you joined Red Note yet? We're going to talk about it because it's a dominating app, downloading charts right now. We'll see what's that all about.
Also, something that a lot of people have opinions about, plastic bags. Well, they could soon be banned at your local grocery store. The Montgomery County hearing that's happening and taking up that issue today. And Caitlin standing by with a look at our forecast.
Yeah, Angie, the cold is back in a big way. Temperatures out there so much lower than yesterday, only in the 30s, only at the freezing mark at BWI. Blustery and very cold conditions. That will continue through the rest of the week. We'll take a first look at that forecast coming up on the other side of the break.
Okay, Sharon's with us today.
Hey, Sharon.
So let us know. I mean, is TikTok, has it been banned? Is it gonna be
people
banned?
are so worried, guys. TikTokers
Yeah, we post
are
on TikTok.
taking their
Gotta be honest, I
creativity
do.
to a new app, though. The Chinese alternative is called Red Note. It's topping the app download charts. Self-claimed TikTok refugees are flooding the app, despite it all being in Mandarin. Red Note features short-form videos, nearby feeds for users. I think this is a way for TikTokers to say, we don't care that it's Chinese-owned. We just want to use this platform. So many people are worried that this might be gone come January 19th, and they're worried. A lot of people, this is their livelihood. This is how they make money. This is how they've built their brand. So there's a lot of anxiety around this.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But news alert, I mean, China's already been deemed a foreign adversary in this TikTok ban. So whether it's Lemon 8, which is also the sister app that's owned by ByteDance, or it's this new, this Red Note one from China, I mean, the executive branch could very well decide to ban this one too. So, I mean, enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, Red Note, I just don't speak Mandarin, so I can just maybe get a translating service.
I mean,
or
nobody's
something.
reading anything anyways. They're just looking at pictures and videos and stuff. But I do feel bad because there are people that make a living off of this app,
they
right?
do.
So,
True.
I mean, the whole ban idea came out because of national security purposes, right? With China owning the app and infiltrating what kind of information gets to us, potentially misinformation. So there was a lot of concern there.
Well, you look at, we used to have Vine. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was like only 7 seconds. That went away, and then people just adjust to something else. So if TikTok does get banned, well,
something
I'm sure
else will
something else
come in
will
place
pop
of
up.
it. Yeah, that's true, Shamari. All right, well, if you want to hang out at Starbucks, you're going to have to buy something first. The coffee chain updating its policy, which used to allow people to just work inside the store or use the restroom, whether they purchase something or not. New policies also include adding signs banning harassment outside alcohol smoking and panhandling in its stores. Starbucks says its new code of conduct for customers is part of an effort to make its stores more hospitable. I mean, listen, this is their prerogative to do this if this is what they want to do. I just feel bad because there's not enough restrooms out there. Like, where are people supposed to go if there's no public restrooms? So you always kind of depend on a Starbucks or a McDonald's or something.
I do, especially reporting at night. You tell you, I will go to a Starbucks, but I will always buy something because people look at you, oh, you just coming in here to use the restroom? No, give me a small little coffee. We'll call it a day.
Yeah, I know. That's how I am, too, no matter what. Like, even if I use a gas station or something, I'm not getting gas. But I think that... I'm not against this because sometimes people go out there, they camp out all day, and they use it. It's not the public library.
That's true.
It's their business. So.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Shireen. Here's a live look outside at the Washington Monument from our Fox 5 Skycam at the Stacks. And what a beautiful looking day, Angie. It definitely feels a lot better compared to last week.
I think this might be my favorite Fox 5
You like this
Skycam.
one? I like
do.
National Harbor, but we'll
Really
stick
pretty.
with this for right now.
It's such a nice wide view. Caitlin joining us now. And you said it was coming, this Arctic invasion. The blast is back.
I love that shot, too. It really shows you how snow-covered we still are, you guys, which is amazing. I mean, over a week, we had 7 inches of snow that fell, and you just can't melt it down when you have day after day that are in the 30s. Sunday and yesterday, we were well into the 40s. In fact, we made it to 50 yesterday afternoon, but things have completely changed back to much more January-like temperatures, at least for us, because January has been very cold so far, and today, a big difference compared to yesterday. So our 24-hour temperature change, 14 degrees colder here in D.C., 10 to 15 degrees basically everywhere. Those wind chills are lower because, of course, we can't seem to do the cold without the wind around here, and that breeze has it feeling like 30 in D.C., many of us only in the 20s. We've got a pocket of some snow flurries coming out of the mountains, so from Pittsburgh down through sections of West Virginia, a little bit of light snow. As we get in a little bit closer on storm tracker radar, you can see these are a few flurries showing up just west and along of 81. So as this piece of energy swings through, later this evening we could see a few passing flurries. Nothing more than that. Overall, it'll be a clear, cold, and breezy night. Those gusts could still hit 30 miles an hour. For Wednesday, more of the same, sunshine, but deceivingly so as we remain cold with temperatures well below normal, and we also still remain pretty breezy. So look at your high temperatures for tomorrow, even a little bit lower than today. 32 in D.C., some of us stuck in the 20s all day long. So any melting we've been doing kind of coming to a halt over these next few days. Now, the temperature trend is a bit of an upward one, but not dramatically so. We're into the 30s and then the 40s Friday and Saturday. But the overall pattern shows that despite the moderation that we gain Friday and Saturday, the big story going forward into next week, and this does include Inauguration Day on Monday, is a serious cool down border to border as a major round of polar air comes plunging southward. So that will show up in your 7-day forecast, and I'll have more on that still to come. Shamari and Angie, back to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Also still to come this hour, a controversial hearing today on those plastic bags in Montgomery County grocery stores, which shoppers you need to know.
Plus, the best cities for jobs in 2025 will tell you if anywhere in the DMV made the list, coming up at 5. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A proposed ban on plastic bags is moving forward in Montgomery County. It was first introduced in October. Today, dozens signed up to speak on the possible ban.
And Fox 5's Lily Zhang has been following that proposal, and she joins us now live with an update. Hi, Lily.
Hey there, guys. Good afternoon to you. Most people we spoke with today were in favor of this bill. They were citing environmental concerns. Still, there were some people at this meeting who are against it.
Come on. We don't want to be nickel and dime. We're not an ATM anymore.
That is a man who spoke against the bill today, questioning its effectiveness. If passed, the proposal would get rid of the existing 5-cent tax on plastic bags and instead ban them altogether in Montgomery County. Paper bags would have a tax with some exceptions. There are also some exceptions on the plastic ban, like packaging for fruit and vegetables at a store, for example. The bill's sponsor says the purpose of this bill is to help advance environmental and human health by reducing litter and plastic waste in the waterways.
Some estimates are that each resident in the U.S. uses almost a bag per day on average. So for the 1 million residents of Montgomery County, that's contributing a significant amount of waste, mostly one-time use and then in the trash.
Now, there was no vote on this bill, but now that it has had a public hearing, it does head off to a committee next. Guys.
All right, thank you, Lily. Makers of a D.C. sports betting program ordered to pay up. New details on a settlement with the district.
Also, a new report on that deadly explosion that leveled a house in Sterling, Virginia last year. Our Tisha Lewis is live in Loudoun County digging into this one. Tisha?
And this flag marks the spot where a firefighter lost his life, several others injured, responding to calls for a gas leak. We are now getting a first look at the significant incident report and what happened that day and what needs to be improved. Details after the break.
Here's a look at some of the top stories we're following. Manassas police arresting the man wanted in connection to a fatal shooting. Police say on January 9th, Marlon Bethesda shot and killed Calvin Odell during an argument on Sunset Drive. Bethesda is facing several charges, including second-degree murder. He's currently being held without bond.
Well, D.C. police now looking for 4 suspects who stole a luxury coat, a hat, a hoodie, with a gun from a student in Southeast Monday. Police say that the suspects confronted the student at Wheeler Market, pointed a gun, and stole his belongings. Now, the principal of nearby Digital Pioneers Academy Middle School is telling students to avoid that market and not to wear expensive things. D.C. police will have a heavier presence there for the rest of the week.
D.C.'s Attorney General Brian Schwab announcing the district will get $6.5 million from 2 contractors tied to sports betting. The settlement is a result of a fraud probe which alleges the lottery and sports betting contractors defrauded the district. Schwab's office claims the 2 deceived regulators to win contracts back in 2019.
Loudoun County Fire and Rescue releasing the incident report detailing that home explosion in Sterling, Virginia that took the life of a firefighter and hurt more than a dozen others. Fox 5's Tisha Lewis joining us live from Sterling this evening with what's new. Tisha?
Well, it's a 211-page report that details what happened right here where we're standing, where home once stood before that home explosion on February 16th. 2024. Now you can see next to me a flag marks the spot where a firefighter, Trevor Brown, lost his life. The report released today includes dozens of recommendations and observations in the aftermath of the tragic incident. It was requested by the Loudoun County Fire Rescue Combined System and completed by Frederick County Fire and Rescue Services in Maryland. The detailed report comes after the February 16th explosion. Sterling volunteer firefighters responded to a call reporting a gas leak here on Silver Ridge Drive. Within the hour, we're told the home exploded, killing firefighter Trevor Brown, injuring several first responders and 2 civilians. Several firefighters were trapped in the home's basement. The report released today concludes, quote, the need for continuous improvement in emergency response protocols, training, and communication strategies to mitigate risks and enhance the safety of responders in high-pressure situations.
Well, we're finally happy that a lot of the debris has been cleaned up and, to restore some sort of normalcy to our neighborhood. We're still very sorry, and our heart goes out to Kelly, who was the owner of the house. And we've just been trying to, come together as a community, and it was a pretty hard day. And, little by little, hopefully we're recuperating. But, yeah, pretty traumatic event, as you can imagine.
So we have this report now, Tisha, which sounds pretty extensive. What happens next?
Well, we took a look at the report. There are 51 objectives and more than 80 action items, and that center and focus on risk assessment, training, and communication. These are all areas where there could be improvement to prevent something like this from happening again. So that's where it all starts. We're going to hear more about that coming up in the next couple hours. Meanwhile, 67-year-old Roger Bentley is charged with involuntary manslaughter and also faces more charges. He's the technician with Southern States that assessed the leak and apparently told the residents inside to go about their merry way. And so there is a criminal component and criminal investigation aligned with this new report that came out today as well.
All right, Tisha Lewis for us in Loudoun County. Thank you.
Now to another Fox 5 exclusive. The assistant principal of Rock Creek Elementary School has withdrawn from the assignment. Fox 5's exclusive new video showing an incident with a kindergartner at a different school last year. Montgomery County Public Schools reassigned former Ritchie Elementary School principal Andrew Winter. This video from last February appearing to show him grabbing a 6-year-old by his clothes and stomping on his foot. Winter was acquitted of all charges in a bench trial in November. The child's mother telling me that her son has autism and she is still upset over what happened.
It's scary to know that there is video evidence of him physically assaulting my son and that he was found acquitted. I'm still trying to understand it.
And in all fairness, he was acquitted for what he allegedly did to your son.
That doesn't mean that he's innocent.
Hundreds of parents at Rock Creek Valley Elementary School started a petition against Mr. Winter. MCPS now tells us Mr. Winter has been replaced and does not wish to have a role anywhere within the Montgomery County Public School District.
All right, still to come, Show. The Commanders, they are back and getting ready for their next playoff game against Detroit.
Yes.
Woo. All right, that's going to be a tough road ahead. But what they are focusing on before headed that
That's
way.
all I've been talking about to people today. We'll have to see. My dad says, who knows, Detroit may bring home the win. And later, Jessica Simpson and Eric Johnson splitting up after 10 years of marriage. Oh, man. We'll check in with TMZ, but first, let's check in with Caitlin.
Shamari, Arctic air is back, and it has felt cold today. Nothing changes for the next couple afternoons, but by Friday and Saturday it gets a little bit better. We see some moderation heading into the weekend and maybe even some rain, but will it end as snow over the long holiday weekend? We'll talk about that and more cold air coming our way. That's all ahead in your 7-day forecast.